More stalling in the Michigan Senate today. They still have not voted on a roads plan that they put on the table yesterday.
As we've been telling you all this week, the plan is a little different from what the House has already passed last month. This plan in the Senate would involve a 15-cent per gallon increase on gas tax. They'd tack on 5 cents per gallon each of the next 3 years. Now, that is estimated to raise about $700 million a year for roads. The plan would also rely on a similar amount of money from the general fund by shifting money spent on other resources right now.
But the Senate has not specified what those would target yet. And the plan also proposes an income tax rollback if there's enough future growth in the state.
And the plan is getting some mixed reaction, as you can imagine. The Detroit News editorial board calling it a road deal that works for Michigan, saying it is a good balance of new and existing revenue. Plus, the 3-year phase-in, the newspaper says, should ease the pain of new taxes at the pump. And it's a more suitable approach than the House version passed earlier in June.
But the Free Press was a little more skeptical, saying it may be worse than you think. An editorial in the paper said, quote, a road funding package crafted on the backs of the state's working poor. Under Michigan's Republican leadership, we're heading toward just such a cruel reality.
Joining us now, former House Majority Leader Rocky Raczkowski and current House Minority Leader Representative Tim Greimel. First of all, Representative, since you've already got a version that's waiting to be meshed in with the Senate, what do you think about the Senate's version?
Well, there are some very serious problems with the Senate's version. The two biggest problems are the fact that it raises taxes on low and middle income individuals through the elimination of the earned income tax credit and by substantially increasing the gas tax, while at the same time cutting taxes primarily for the wealthy by cutting the income tax. And so it simply is a continuation of this trend we've seen over the course of the past 4 years in our state, where the wealthy and well-connected and those at the top of the economic ladder do better and better, and everybody else just struggles to get by. We need a Michigan where the economy works for everybody, not just those who are wealthy and well-connected.
Rocky, talk about this plan. They haven't voted on it yet, but what are your thoughts on the Senate plan being considered?
Well, first off, I've never heard of anybody that pays income taxes, everybody that pays state income tax being called wealthy. But I'm not a big fan of this proposal either, because right now we're the fifth highest state charging taxes on our gas, and this would make us #1 in the nation. On top of it, in this proposal, they talk about linking a portion of it, the tax, to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So that means if inflation goes way out of control, guess what happens to our gas prices? They go way out of control. So I do agree with Representative Greimel on one very important part. It does affect the poor as well as seniors and retirees. Because if you remember, under the Snyder administration, they did cut, they actually taxed senior pensions and they cut other taxes. Now, individuals that are working will see a small cut in their income tax, but you're still going to see a 15-cent increase per gallon of gas in the next 3 years to include CPI increases after that. I'm not sure if I could support this proposal.
Representative Greimel, here we are again. We're kind of back to where we were before you guys shoved Proposition 1 down voters' throats, and they didn't like that either. We still can't agree whether we're going to raise taxes, cut spending, or find money someplace else. How are we going to reconcile this thing?
Well, you know, and I think everyday folks in the state of Michigan are willing to do their fair share to help fix the roads, but they don't want to do it when it's just ever higher taxes on low and middle income folks. Yeah. They want to make sure that others, corporations, wealthy incomes pay their fair share as well. And that's not happening. And the other thing that people want to see is some common sense reforms, like lowering the truck weights in our state. And the Senate plan does nothing to do that either.
Did the House plan do that? And again, I want to get back to what Stephen said too. Whatever passes in the Senate here, what is the next step then of coming up with something that both chambers can ultimately agree on that could end up on the governor's desk?
The House plan actually went further, and it didn't raise taxes on anyone. It used current increases in the state's growth, as well as money that's currently in the budget, which I think is the proper way to go. And I think that's the larger message of what was sent during the debacle of Proposal 1 just recently that we saw.
Now, Rocky, I know you're not in favor at all of raising taxes of any kind, specifically the gas tax here, but Michigan hasn't raised the gas tax in a great number of years. So, I mean, isn't that fair game about now?
Well, if we have to raise certain things, we're going to have to look at that. But raising it 5 cents a gallon for the next 3 years, 15 cents, and then tying it to CPI, I think is the wrong answer. And like Representative Greimel said, I know there's a lot of things we won't agree on, but this is one thing that we will, that it affects the poorest and the senior citizens. And again, it's not the right thing to do because gas taxes are regressive, and you're going to see those prices spread all across everything that we buy in our stores.
Do you two ultimately think here that the cut of the earned income tax credit will be part of any bill that ends up on the governor's desk? Yes or no?
Well, we certainly hope not. And as Rocky just mentioned, you know, the way this is crafted right now, it hits low and middle income people the hardest. And while the income tax gives a little bit of benefit to everybody, the people who benefit the most from an income tax cut are the wealthy. And so again, this is a very wrong-headed plan. We're going to make sure that we have true tax fairness in the state of Michigan, and that we're making sure that the corporate interests and the wealthy are paying their fair share.
Yeah, Rocky, what's up?
Tim, the best way to get fairness across, toll roads. Toll roads is the fairest, easiest, best way to pay for our roads.
But it seems like that would be years and years down the road, right? And we can't wait that long. So
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Really?
For our state roads, we can impose toll roads, and we can work out a version of fixing our gas taxes, as was done in the State House proposal.
All right, Rocky Rachowski and Tim Greimel, thank you both for your time. And you guys disturbingly sound like you're almost on the same page here.
we are
some
most
parts of it.
That's actually promising. We like hearing that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. All right, still ahead.